Welcome to a Prevent Connect podcast, where we explore the prevention of violence against women. This is a project of the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashley Klein-Jimenez from Prevent Connect, and I'm joined here by my colleague.
I am Meghna Bhatt from Prevent Connect.
And we're so excited to be here with our wonderful partners at Prevention Institute, Lisa Fujier-Parks and Alicia Somji. Hi Alicia and Lisa, how are you?
Hi. We're good. We're excited to share our news today.
Yeah, we are really excited to share that Prevention Institute has recently produced a new publication for Prevent Connect titled Expanding Partnerships and Linkages, Key Directions in Sexual and Domestic Violence Prevention. And the publication is really a summary of the 2016 web conference series of Prevent Connect. Do I have that right?
That's right.
Okay, awesome. So I know that one of the things that the publication does is it highlights 5 really key themes that point to growth and new opportunities for the field. Can you share a little bit about how you see the field and how it's evolving?
Well, I've been working in the field for a number of years, and so what I noticed is just a lot of growth and kind of manifesting a lot of hard work over the last 10 years or so, where conversations that we've been having, issues that we've been working on, we're seeing domestic and sexual violence advocates and practitioners leading these efforts in their communities and having more and more impact. And so it felt very vibrant and like a lot of growth is taking place in the field.
And as someone who's newer to the field, some of the things that came up in the series and what we've been seeing in the field is more of a focus on health inequities and thinking really about the structural drivers and connecting to who's most affected by violence. We've been seeing more connection to other forms of violence among practitioners and really trying to make those connections with community violence or trauma, which has been really great to see more collaborative action there. We've also seen practitioners focusing more on the underlying factors of why this violence is happening in the first place, really looking at the community level. And then we see an enduring commitment to community partnerships and empowerment. So this is something that the field has really been advocates of from the beginning, and it's really great to see that continue. And then the last thing that we highlight in the report as a key theme is how sexual and domestic violence practitioners are really starting to connect with social justice movements. And we really see that as an exciting thing, as well as connecting with other sectors as well.
Yeah, and I think just looking back over it and thinking about those themes, I always think about the conversations that happen on the Prevent Connect web conferences, and it seemed that the audience, our audience, and presenters and us as facilitators were just so excited by the topics, and there seemed to be a lot of validation, and these are things that people have been thinking about and talking about for a long time, and so really elevating that and making space to continue those conversations, I think was really important. Yeah.
Great. So one of the questions, and I know you've addressed it a little bit about the key themes, but what can the Prevent Connect audience expect to find in this new publication?
Yeah, so I guess this whole theme for the 2016 web conference series and this report was around expanding partnerships and linkages. Okay. So I think that readers of this report will really find out how sexual and domestic violence practitioners are starting to make those connections to different issues, whether it's health or safety, other social justice movements, sectors, and this report is organized by starting off with an introduction and an explanation of how the field is transforming and some of the key findings that we have across the series as a whole. And then it kind of breaks into each web conference alone, looking at what the key, main messages were for each of those and also resources that practitioners can have easy access to.
Awesome. Well, I think that kind of goes into our next question, which is how do you hope that this report is used by prevention practitioners?
Yeah, I think that there is kind of, Lisa and I have talked about this a bunch, and I think there's kind of 3 audiences and 3 different uses that we're really hoping for. And the first one is really for those who are part of the web conferences that were maybe participants, and they may not want to go back and watch 13.5 hours of content. And so this is a really great, easy to reference document that they can go look at, find those resources that were shared, see what those key messages are and really try and implement some of the great ideas and innovations that came out of the series. Then there's those who are in the field that maybe didn't participate in the web conferences. And it's a great way for them to get some new ideas on making those connections between other fields, sectors, and social justice movements. And then finally, I think that it's important that practitioners in other fields and other sectors look at this report and really find the value of the sexual and domestic violence prevention field. And they can kind of see what we all have to add to their work. And so I'm really hoping that we can move beyond just sexual and domestic violence prevention and reach broader audiences.
So yeah, the next question is kind of an exciting one. For each of you, what was the highlight of the 2016 season?
Good. Yeah. All right. Well, I think the whole series as a whole was exciting to see how it all kind of came together and connected across the different topics. One that really stuck out for me, we had 2 web conferences this year on harmful gender norms and making connections with LGBTQ plus movements. And I feel like I learned a lot from that one, and I think that was really exciting. Another one that really stands out was connections between public health and feminist theory, and seeing how we examined that throughout the series. For example, with looking at how patriarchy affects social inclusion and social cohesion. So there were some really exciting new topics in this series.
You shared the 2 that I was really thinking of. But I mean, I think they were all so exciting. And so I guess the highlight for me was really just that we had such amazing presenters and guests that were so willing to share about the work that they were doing in their local communities. And not just about the work that they were doing, but also the questions that they had about this work. And so I just found the amount of discussion and, sharing and genuinely being interested in how to make our community safer and more equitable. I think that for me was a highlight.
Yeah, sure. I guess I thought there was a lot of risk-taking, so to speak, in the conversations, that people were willing to push the conversation to say, how are we challenging some of the ways that we really want to change our work and grow our work. So I really appreciated the conversations and the willingness to engage. I will also say the relevance was a real highlight, that there was a real effort to say, these are very difficult, problematic times that we're in, and how are we responding to these times as best as we can, and how are we being relevant in this moment? So making connections to broader issues that are occurring and the movements that are trying to address them. And so the risk-taking and the relevance of the work really stood out for me.
Yeah, exciting. I think for me in 2016, I was a participant. So for me, what struck the most was also about how different social justice movements were connecting with each other, and how we can kind of build this, momentum by, kind of connecting and networking, and also making the most out of each other's, resources and capacity building. And I think that was exciting. And as a participant, just to know the amount of innovative prevention work being done, whether it's tackling risk or protective factors or kind of highlighting new strategies. So that was kind of exciting as a participant for me.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Sure.
Well, that's really all the questions that we have for you all. I think we're just excited for people to be able to access the publication and take a look themselves through what it has to offer. And we would love to hear how people are using it and sharing it. But thank you for all the work that you did to put that all together and to really capture such a special series of Prevent Connect Web conferences. And we're very grateful for the continued partnership between us and Prevention Institute.
Yes, and if I could say, we're so grateful for the partnership with CalCASA and Prevent Connect and the whole Prevent Connect community. And I really hope that people who look at this resource feel that it really honors the creativity and the hard work and the impact that practitioners and advocates are having, and that they see themselves and they are inspired, and that it helps to facilitate more partnerships and more linkages.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this Prevent Connect podcast. Prevent Connect is a project of the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault, with funding from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The views presented on Prevent Connect are not necessarily the views of the United States government, the CDC, or CalCASA. To learn more about Prevent Connect, visit www.preventconnect.org. For more information about CalCASA's mission, or to show your support, visit calcasa.org. That's CalCasa.org.